Hello, welcome back to Blender Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna talk about array modifier and how we can kind of hack it using Sverchok Add-On. So it's actually pretty simple, but this is kind of creations that you can get out of it. So you see what's going on. This is actually we have multiple objects in the 3D scene, and for each object, we actually have this setup: array X, array Y, and array Z. And what's going on is like Sverchok in the background is kind of hacking this each and every object, and then kind of changing the count, array count for the X and the Y and the Z. So you can see as I'm changing this seed, the count is keep changing. So it's actually quite simple, but the effect is quite interesting. Yeah, so let's just get started from scratch. So we're gonna actually use this 3D cube for now. This is the default cube, and you know, when we are dealing with an array of objects, sometimes you call it like as a voxel. The easiest one is actually to use array modifier. That's actually the first thing. If you want to deal with multiple objects, try making an array of objects like this. So you know, this is like a single cube, but using array modifier we can quickly change it into 5 cubes side by side in the x-axis, because based on this is the default behavior. It's just gonna stack the cube in the x-axis. You can change the units, like the gap offset between the cube, but I'll just gonna leave it at 1 unit for now. And if you kind of chaining the modifier, you can get a little bit more interesting effect. But we have to change the direction here. Instead of 1, we change to 0, 1, 0. So that's the direction of the array. So you know, we can scale the objects, and then everything will kind of follow. If we are actually kind of using smoothing on the top, smoothing actually makes the cube a little bit smaller. But in this case, because we are using relative offset, we don't see any changes. So that can be good or bad thing. But anyway, let's make this array X, array Y, and one more array in the Z-axis. 0, 0, 1. And now we have this voxel. This is a matrix of cube, and it's very simple still. Everyone understand modifier, what modifier does and how it works. It's like a stacking of what do you call it? Yeah, stack of modifier, and you can change the stack at any time. It's just like a live. It's a live thing. You can always change it at any time. It's non-linear as well. So this kind of thing, you can of course build everything using Sverchok, but in this case I will not do that. I'm just gonna use this single cube object and then this multiple array of objects. Of course, in Blender, if you have this monkey head and you wanna copy the modifier, you can actually do that simply by how do we do this? Copy. I think it's something about link. Control L. So Control L, make links. If I say make links modifier, so we have the monkey head as a matrix array. Of course, you can do that pretty easily. But anyway, we're gonna focus on this cube. I'm gonna save this real quick. SV array hack. So what can we do with this? Of course, currently this modifier is already pretty cool. We can change these attributes and property as we please, but having to do this all the time, you know, it's not very fun. You can of course make like a custom property here, so you can easily change this, but I'm gonna do that using Sverchok. I'm gonna make like 4 of this guy. Imagine if you have 4 of this array set up and you wanna kind of randomize it. It's not really fun to have to do this all the time. So so we can control all these parameters using Sverchok add-on. It's actually very easy. All you need to do is to use some things like object ID selector, or yeah, we can do this, or you can also use objects in. I'm gonna save this. So with objects in, we can select particular objects. I'm gonna select all these 4 objects. So we have them loaded, and we have this object output. All we need to do is simply just use object set. Plug this guy in. Instead of controlling the delta location, this is the default parameter. We can specify this modifier count. You can hover over this guy and then look at it. Okay, this is like bpy.data.objects modifiers array x.count. If you can remember that, it's cool, but I'm just gonna copy paste from this. Simply get rid of bpy.context.object, and I believe it's actually already working. Since we have like a 3 modifier here, we can chain this pretty easily. This is going to be array y, and it's going to be array z. See, everything backs to 4, 4, 4. We can change it here at any time, but if you want to do it kind of more procedurally using like an integer value of your own from here, just don't use this equal, just delete the equal. Simply plug in an integer value. And you see now we can control this array, object array, using Sverchok. I think that's very cool, and I think it's pretty useful as well, and I reckon this is quite effective for, it's depending on what you're doing. This also works if you want to generate like a building. What's cool thing about arrays is that you can merge it as well, so that's a bonus. You can change the distance if you like, give some kind of variations. So yeah, this is simply, it's just an array of objects. The next thing you can do is that you can, if you want to have like random value, you can do that using Sverchok as well. So instead of having this 3 value, we can have random number. Let's say between 3 and 10. Be careful with the number because 10 by 10 by 10 is like 1000, so it might be a little bit big. I'll change this to between 3 and 8, or between 2 and 8. Just make a random value, and now we can randomize. See, can randomize this guy. We have 4 objects. Okay, so generate 4 random number, and for this array, randomize the seed. So yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. It's very simple. If you want to change the seed all at the same time, you can do something like this. Just math we provide like a integer value here. This is gonna be the seed for all of this guy, but remember we need to randomize it a little bit. It doesn't like this value. We need to convert a float into seed, float into integer, I mean. So yeah, this is how it should work. So one value controlling 3 parameters, and each one should have a slightly random seed. So yeah, now we have this. Would be nice to be able to center this guy. I think set origin might do it, or actually it doesn't work for this array, unfortunately. Maybe there's a trick to do that. But yeah, so this actually works for these 4 objects. If we have a lot more of these objects, it doesn't work right away. You need to kind of, okay, select them and then grab it again, and now everything works. But we need to also count the size, the number of the objects. So list length, plug into the size, level 0 or level, yeah, I think it's level 0. So now everything works. So I make a bunch of them, like how many? I think it's 30. Yeah. Just load all of them, and you can see right away we can have some kind of randomness. And this guy is an array of objects. I've done something like this in the past, but I think this is a good example as well. How you can use Blender modifier system and then kind of randomize it using nodes in Sverchok. I think it's really powerful, especially if you think about it. Even like a skeleton system, like armature is also a deformer, so you can have like a full system set up in Blender and then you control it using Sverchok. That's actually like the most ideal way. So this is matrix array hack. For the next live noding, I might do something similar, but just gonna do it all inside Sverchok as a system that you can assign. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this live noding. Hopefully this is useful. Any feedbacks, I'll just leave it in the comments section below. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.